They were trained for every emergency, but not for this. At cruising altitude, the aircraft began to fight back, controls locked, lights flashed. The pilots weren't flying the plane was flying them. What do you do when the very jet you command turns against you? This is the terrifying true story of flight, failure, and survival against the odds. They trusted the system, until it turned against them. Mid-air, at cruising altitude, something went terribly wrong. The aircraft began acting on its own, ignoring commands, defying logic. 2 pilots, hundreds of lives, one shocking betrayal in the skies. It began with a flicker, an anomaly on a secondary display. The left engine oil pressure dipped, then returned to normal. Carter noticed, checked the logs, nothing. He mentioned it to Rostova. She nodded, scanning the displays. All looked perfect. They logged it as a sensor blip. Minutes later, a soft chime sounded. No message, no call light. Both pilots heard it. System status, green, normal, but unsettling. These machines don't whisper, they announce. Ambiguity was not their language. The pilots exchanged a look, concern growing. Then, the autopilot initiated a 1-degree turn left, subtle but clear on the navigation display. Rostova disengaged the autopilot, corrected the heading, and re-engaged it. The system complied, but doubt was planted. These were symptoms of a hidden illness. The pilots began cross-checking data, searching for a pattern. The aircraft still flew perfectly, but trust was eroding. It was like talking to a friend who suddenly uses the wrong words. Something was off. The pilots were no longer just flying, they were investigating. The machine itself could not see the problem. The battle for control had begun. The fragile peace did not last. 10 minutes later, the aircraft banked left again. This time, a deliberate 5-degree turn. An alarm blared. Autopilot. Rostova disconnected it. My aircraft, she said, leveling the wings, but the moment she relaxed, the plane wanted to bank left. The ghost was no longer whispering, it was pushing. The autopilot was off, yet some part of the system was still active, fighting her inputs. Carter searched for diagnostics. The screens showed all systems normal. They were flying a haunted airplane. They tried a lower automation mode, control wheel steering. The system ignored their commands, rolling left again. The machine was not just malfunctioning, it was rejecting their authority. Carter radioed air traffic control. Flight control difficulties. No emergency declared, yet. In the cockpit, a chilling fear took hold. They were losing control. The automation was no longer a tool, it was an adversary. The pilots braced for a battle against their own aircraft. The fight for control intensified. The leftward pull grew stronger, demanding real effort from Rostova. Flying became a physical struggle, not a task for fingertips but for muscle. Carter took over briefly, surprised by the force. They worked through emergency checklists, disconnect autopilot, check flight computers, 3 computers designed for redundancy. They tried to switch from one to another. The system refused. The digital gatekeeper was locked. The problem was deeper than a single failure. The architecture itself was corrupted. All computers followed the same flawed logic. The safety net had become a cage. The pilots were trapped, forced to fly manually while fighting the system. Mental strain mounted. Every decision was critical. Their communication became clipped, precise. Check hydraulic pressure. Normal. Reset circuit breakers. No effect. They were explorers in uncharted territory, beyond the manuals. The system believed it was right, fighting the pilots' every move. The automation was supposed to protect them, but now it was the threat. The designers never envisioned this scenario. The pilots' only option, outthink the machine. They had to find a way to break the system's grip. The battle for command was reaching its peak. Time was running out. Exhaustion mounting. The pilots needed a breakthrough, a way to bypass the corrupted system. Carter recalled a technical detail. The flight control system relied on multiple air data computers. What if a single faulty sensor was poisoning the logic? Could they isolate it? It was risky. Disconnecting core sensors could trigger more failures. But continuing as they were was unsustainable. They decided, pull the breakers for air data units 1 and 3, fly on number 2 alone. This would force the system into direct law, stripping away automation, giving direct control to the pilots. Carter pulled the breakers. Alarms blared, warnings flashed, but the leftward pull vanished. The plane responded instantly. I have control, Rostova said, this time truly in command. They'd outsmarted the ghost in the machine, performing a targeted lobotomy on the aircraft's brain. The alarms still screamed, but the pilots were finally in charge. Now, they could focus on a controlled descent and emergency landing. The crisis was not over, but the balance of power had shifted. Human ingenuity had outwitted the machine. The partnership between pilot and technology had been tested and survived. The lesson was clear: trust, but verify. The crisis in the air was over, but the investigation was just beginning. How could a multi-million-dollar aircraft turn against its crew? The answer: a rare software bug, buried deep in millions of lines of code. A perfect storm of data inputs triggered a logical flaw no one had anticipated. The flight control system, a web of interconnected software, misinterpreted a minor sensor error. Instead of flagging it, the system accepted it as true, calculating a false course correction. The left turn wasn't random, it was the logical output of a program fed bad data. The pilots couldn't override it because of safety protocols. Flight envelope protection. The system believed it was saving the aircraft, fighting the pilot's commands. All redundant computers running the same flawed code made the same mistake. The incident was a stark lesson: software bugs don't wear out, they wait. Redundancy is useless if all systems share the same flaw. The ghost in the machine was complexity itself. The harrowing flight forced a re-evaluation of pilot-automation relationships. The lesson: automation must be a collaborator, not just a tool. Next-generation flight systems are now incorporating artificial intelligence. The goal: an AI co-pilot that can reason, adapt, and understand context. Imagine an AI that recognizes anomalies, cross-references data, and alerts pilots with clear explanations. Future cockpits may use natural language processing. Pilots could simply ask, "What's causing the left roll?" The AI would analyze and respond, reducing cognitive load in emergencies. The aim is graceful degradation. When failure occurs, the system hands control back to pilots clearly. The AI becomes a guardian angel, ensuring humans always have the clearest path to safety. The future isn't about removing humans, but building a smarter partnership. The smartest loop is human and machine, working together. Flight 714 is a reminder. Technology is powerful, but humans are the ultimate failsafe. The pilots saved the day, not by following a checklist, but by thinking beyond it. They diagnosed a problem the machine couldn't see, and took a risk no computer would take. The incident raises a critical question: how much trust should we place in machines? Perfect automation can erode manual skills and reduce resilience. The future of safety lies in perfecting the partnership between human and machine. Systems must be intuitive, communicate clearly, and build trust, not demand blind faith. The most important safety system is a well-trained, resilient crew. Incidents like this push the boundaries of knowledge and inspire innovation. As we reach for the stars, we must always respect the human in the loop.